Okay, well, I'll go ahead and get started, even though if I'm not, it looks like we're up. Hello. All right, today's April 7th, 2022. Hello, everyone, as you come in. This is just a quick comment here on a couple of things I thought would kind of show where things are. Before I talk about the title and the information there, I might want to point out when I talk about the biblical things, it's important to realize that most of it, most of it is not really critical to your salvation if you're worried about that. It's more about understanding where things came from and where they're going. So I don't mean to sound dogmatic when I talk. It's just that I'm trying about those things like the meaning of the Hebrew terms and the histories as compared to what's in the scripture, et cetera, et cetera. But the important things are always, as I said, the two pillars, the two parts of the royal law, or the perfect law of liberty. And Jesus said it too, right? Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, might, mind, and strength, and love thy neighbor as thyself. Upon these two are all the law and the prophets. Okay, I just wanted to say that because a lot of people get upset when I get on things, and the important thing I'm trying to show is that there's a bigger picture involved than what you've been told, okay? And there's some other issues as well, which I won't get into today, but you can see those in my religion and my Eisman series. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that you're being saved or having eternal life or all that isn't dependent upon your accepting necessarily the historical information or the discussions I give on the different things. Okay, it's your relationship with God that's important. The details of the histories and all that are just for your edification. Okay, I found out today that Russia has been suspended from the UN Human Rights Council. Now, this is significant, at least to me, because this tells me again that Russia is on the outside of the WEF and the NWO. Uh, some people say, well, they're just pretending because they're trying to make it look like Russia's on the outside when they're really not. They're not going to go to that kind of trouble. The leaders of the nations already know everything. They've all been sucked into this whole medical thing that we've had over the last 2 years. Almost all of them, but like a handful of nations have gone along with it. So they're not going to be concerned about whether they're going to get fooled about Russia or not. That's just not the case, ladies and gentlemen. It's just not. Uh, I've seen a lot of people talk about that Russia really isn't opposed to the WEF, and it's a question in your mind and certainly mine. But all of the evidence continues to stack up that Russia is actually opposed to the entire WEF thing and possibly even the NWO. We see the difference in the. I saw some people talk about the rubles and that the gold, everybody's going to the gold. Well, that's not really true either because it just depends. Now, the real situation is between Russia and China. What that relationship really is. China, as we heard, was bucking the NWO system. They kind of double crossed them, but that's not entirely done yet. So the same could be for Russia. But my entire point is, I'm seeing that Putin and Russia really are trying to pull away from the same types of things that destroyed Iraq, Syria, not so much Syria because Russia kind of saved Syria, but Iraq, Libya, places like that. When they wouldn't switch to the dollar in the banking system, then the United States used their force. Might makes right, not might for right, but might makes right. That's how these people think. So I'm still on the side that Russia is actually opposed to the NWO and the WEF. I think it's really looking that way. Why else would they suspend it from the Human Rights Council at the UN? What they're doing, certainly I'm not for war or all this destruction and death, but at the same time, if anybody should be held accountable for this thing, it's the United States and NATO. That's just the fact of the matter. So I just wanted to bring that up real quick. It does look like that things are headed in an interesting direction. I'm, you know, it's really hard to tell where all this is going to end up, but for sure, you need to take care of yourself. You don't necessarily pick sides, but do as I always say: pray, stay out of the way. Keep your situational awareness on high and be watching things. The other thing I wanted to point out is that Tucker Carlson finally called out Governor Cox of Utah last night. If you did not see that, at least I think it was last night, if you didn't see that, it was really good. He called out both Governor Cox and Senator Mitt Romney. Senator Romney's a senator from Utah. He shouldn't be, but he is. And basically, Tucker said they're doing things opposed to what the people of their state want. And that's absolutely true. And Governor Cox ought to be recalled. And so should Mitt Romney, if that's possible. I'm not sure how that would work in the Senate, but certainly Governor Cox should be recalled. Maybe even the lieutenant governor under the circumstances, because what they've done, especially trying to push through that situation where they were going to allow females onto men's teams, then men onto female teams. This whole thing is so crazy. Uh, that's absurd, absolutely absurd, with all the things that have gone on with, you know, supposedly concerned about women's rights all these decades, and now all of a sudden we're shifting gears because of something like that. It's crazy. And so, as you all know, as I mentioned before, the Utah legislature passed a bill preventing men from competing against women in women's sports and activities, those things. And then it went to Governor Cox. He vetoed it, and it went back to the Utah State Legislature, and they overrode his veto. They need to kick his ass out of office, is what they need to do. He is a NWO, Kissinger, WEF, et cetera, lackey, and he bows down to the federal government, the Democrats, and the rhinos, of course, as Romney is one, and really has proven himself to be a Luciferian, which is something I've been very concerned about, the upper echelons of that thing called the Mormon Church, for a long time, and I've talked about that before. So anyway, I wanted to make that real quick update on what I see happening. Again, Russia being suspended from the UN Human Rights Council is another piece of evidence that they really are at odds with what's going on with this NWO and WEF and all that. I just hope that Putin gets his behind getting rid of all this nonsense with those things, right? Okay, that's all I got. I don't really have time to take some questions right now, but I just wanted to give that stuff up. Leave it to the GOP to suggest playing musical migrants rather than address salt. Oh yeah, no, for sure. And that was, of course, another thing. There's been, I don't know how serious Governor Abbott is in Texas. He's constantly playing both sides of this coin. But of course, Texas is starting to stand up against this entire situation happening at the border. We'll see. I mean, talk is cheap. Let's see if they really do it. Hi, Jesse. That's Felicia. If that is so, I hope they don't Gaddafi him. Oh yeah, no kidding. Well, if you're talking about Russia, Felicia, Russia is a whole different animal than Libya. They've tried to get. I suspected, as I discussed before, that Russia's generals being taken out like one a week or almost two a week there for a bit. Indicated to me that either somebody on the inside of the Russian security apparatus, military apparatus, was a traitor to the Russians and giving information, or Putin was taking out people that were opposed to him. And then, of course, if there were people on the inside against Putin, then that was being run by the U.S. intelligence establishment and DOD. And if it's true that Major General Roger Courtier, however you say his name, was captured by the Russians, there are people that are denying that right now, saying that that's a lie. Well, if it's a lie, it's out there enough now that the DOD ought to make a formal statement. And I haven't seen one. I don't know if anybody else has, but I haven't seen one. So the point is that the Russians may have found out where the intelligence information inside their own military and intelligence apparatus was being compromised from somebody like Courtier, would be my guess, having access and using different techniques of different types to identify where the Russian generals are. Well, no, I understand. I mean, we can talk distractions all the time and what's going on. Well, you know what's going on. The entire thing with with the surveillance system and the great reset, the deal with the financial system, and making us into something other than what we are. That's what's happening. But that doesn't mean that the war isn't real. And I really do honestly feel now that even if Putin had been maneuvered into this, uh, he, he's he's after the biolabs. He's after the change and getting not Kiev, like I've said. That's really not his objective. His objective was those eastern areas of the Donbass, to free them from the Nazism and the war that it's been going on against them since 2014. Unfortunately, I do think he's gotten himself into a protracted asymmetrical war with the West, but maybe there's a way out of that. I'm not sure. Let's see. Felicia says Graham made statements in the past that lead to me to think that way. Yeah. I agree, Felicia. Okay, that's all I've got. Sorry I took that long. It's already been almost 12 minutes, but I just wanted to give you a heads up on those two things. I'm really glad that Tucker called Utah Governor Cox out and Senator Mitt Romney to show that they're counter not only to the people of their state, but morality, integrity, um, and godliness. They're actually opposed to it. We already know Mitt Romney's a little Luciferian. That's real obvious. And Cox has proven himself to be one as well. Uh, no surprise there. No surprise at all. So you people in Utah, you better kick his butt out. All right, Cox needs to go. And you need to get somebody in there that's going to stand up for what's right, because he doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. Or maybe he doesn't know Mitt Romney's ass from a hole in the ground. They'll probably throw me off YouTube for saying that. Okay, everybody, I got to go. Out here for now.